Um, so next we have a community demo from Geniace. Dean, are you ready for that?
Yep, if you can hear me, I'm good to go.
Yeah, loud and clear. Floor's all yours.
Cool. Yeah, so let me just share my screen. So, yeah, sorry, pronunciation. The picking a name for your startup or your project is always tricky. We thought we had a one that was going to be simple for everyone, but it's Geniace, like Genius, if anyone's wondering. Um, so I'll just give you a bit of background and we'll jump into the product and happy to answer questions. There should be Finn is a head of product and also Rahul, our CTO, on the line as well. If we have any questions as to what's behind the scenes in terms of what you're seeing. So what we've basically built is an NFT marketplace. Our sort of focus is collectibles. Obviously, it's kind of the biggest space, growing space in NFTs right now. And it's also partly because of the access to the content type that we plan on launching. So we'll have the marketplace, and I'll also touch on our launchpad functionality as well for brands and sports federations, and anyone who's sort of more B2B focused. Um, Obviously built on Flow. What you'll be seeing today is the marketplace primarily, our collections. I'm going to talk a little bit about what we've kind of ambitiously bit off in building this project. We wanted to, and I think we're not necessarily the only ones, but one of the few to do a native token on Flow. And you'll see, I'll talk a bit about what that means coming up. But um, you know, part of the content side of what we have is obviously a lot of sort of access to um, well-known faces from kind of sort of celebrity sports world. So that's kind of what we're going to be focused on, and then we also have this launchpad solution, which will come out a little bit later. And so, but won't be sort of public facing. What you'll see is white labeled versions of what you see here today. But the idea would be we'd offer turnkey of the same version of what you're seeing that we demo here today. You would be available for brands or for sports federations, or even a large individual celebrity who's got enough content or IP rights that they wanted to monetize. But the look and feel of it, but the underpinnings would be the exact same of what we will demo here today. So just talk a little about the token, because it's not something that's that visual, but we kind of, as I said, we feel we're in a sort of, when we started building on Flow, there weren't many people doing this. There weren't a lot of answers. We've sort of figured out a lot of this stuff ourselves, but we're going to have our own native Flow token, which is actually going to be bridged, and I'll talk a bit about that as well in the last part of the demo, but bridged into the Binance Smart Chain ecosystem. And that will mean that people can, bridge we'll have a liquidity pool up there. So, and the kind of purpose of the token will obviously be for transacting on the platform. They can obviously pay in Flow as well. We'll add FUSD support further down the track, but we want to give people some benefits on our platform, like fee waivers. They'll be able to stake. They'll get whitelisted, so there'll be sort of incentives to use our token. And later on, if we get it right, the artists that we work with will be part of a governance, and the collectors will be part of a governance via a DAO that we create. So having our own token out the gate was important to us. So we're kind of in this first phase. We've done our white paper. It's up on our website. You can check it out. There's a longer version of this deck, but we're starting our private sale for fundraise at the moment, and then we're going to be launching our first drop in the next couple of weeks. And then early next year, we'll do the public token sale and a few more features and functionality. And then later in the next year, we'll obviously do, the more advanced stuff and DAO and etc. So just thought I'd touch on that. Hopefully on the team on the call today is myself, Dean, Rahul, our CTO, and Finn, our head of product. And just some of the people that we worked with. Obviously, we're on Flow. You'll see Blockturn, you'll see MoonPay integrated throughout the demo. And obviously, we've just got some content and charity partnerships that kind of help bring this to life when we eventually start dropping our NFTs. So without any further ado, I'll just switch over to our website, which is currently not live. We're actually waiting for our smart contract to be approved on mainnet. So everything you see today is going to be against testnet. Hopefully, we're literally days away. But you'll see the sort of contents wise, it's very much trading card style with rarities. And these are some of our upcoming drops, which you'll see into the demo, right? So we're going to pick on icons of rap today. So we've worked with an external collaborating artist in this. And I mention this because it's actually what we've built to the back end. There's quite complex workflows in terms of managing commissions and royalties, whether it's an internal artist that we have in our in-house studio, or whether it's someone we're working with and the kind of commissions from the wallets and the payouts is quite complex behind the scenes. So let's jump into what that looks like on the actual product itself. So this is our marketplace. I'll just pick on Jay-Z here. So we have two sale types, which we're supporting. Obviously, buy it now, simple buy it now, and you'll see it's priced in flow, and then the USD equivalents being pulled in. We can obviously, go and buy that product. There's platform fees, royalties, and seller proceeds. Hopefully this works, and that would tee up the next part. Oh, maybe my wallet initialization has failed, but what would happen is my collection would be populated with the different NFTs I'd bought. Obviously, I'd be able to list them for sale again, and then you'll see we're already getting ready for our 2-token approach here. Obviously, allow standard, view your collection, view your offers you've made or offers you've received. And then back on the marketplace, we would have, just basic sort of e-commerce style functionality, right? So if I wanted to see, anything that was featured, filtering, we can combine the filtering, obviously. And I think, we just basically get down to filtering this. And I'm just trying to think, we should have, if I take these filters off, we should have a product somewhere in here that is actually, so the other thing that we're not seeing here is obviously trading history on the product is something which pulling in the data from the blockchain, but also this is a single one of one edition. We also have the ability to support one of X. So the minting at the back end happens with obviously numerous, and then you can see the one of X and also two sale types. So buy it now or what you're seeing here. We also have buy it now and auction, and same for the secondary marketplace. Everything you see here has been minted by us primary. But obviously, as people came in and bought these, they would have the ability to come back into their collection, relist them for sale, choose the sale type, choose the token type eventually as well between Flow and Genie. And as I said, different incentives, right? So if they're transacting in our native Genie token, we would waive, for example, commission fees on the sale of those, whereas we charge 3% if it's Flow. So as I said, the back end of that kind of supporting two tokens, supporting primary sales, secondary sales, auction, buy it now, fairly complex. Happy to answer any questions, but I didn't want to take too long, just to give you a visual, and hopefully if anyone's got any questions, we're happy to answer them in Q&A.
Thanks for that. Does anybody have any questions for Dean and his team? Feel free to unmute and.
Dean, just a quick question. Did you have a blockto portion of the demo as well?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I totally forgot. I was going to pull up this just to kind of show this. Obviously, we're still on testnet here, but this is, we've been testing you'll see our native Genie token on Flow, supporting actually probably the other way around and more likely. So we're ready to we've worked with the Blockto team and this using their teleport function. I think there's a couple other guys they're working within the Flow ecosystem as well, but this would obviously be most likely happening on their app. So we're from a user experience perspective, this will be something that people can buy Genie on PancakeSwap or wherever it might be on the BSC version, and then teleport it across using this teleport function you see here. But it'll be in the Blockto wallet on your mobile phone, and then obviously the other part of Blockto, apart from user authentication and identity, custodial wallets, we're obviously going to also have our NFTs listed in their wallet, so you can see them like any other collectible in the collectibles section.
Nice.
Cool. I mean, if people can ping me, one-to-one, we've got a Discord. It's I can drop the link, or it's on geniace.com at the bottom of the page. But yeah, we're happy to answer questions there as well if people want to know. But behind the scenes, like I said, there's a lot of the front end looks pretty simple, and the kind of concept. Obviously, we're trying to differentiate on the way that we kind of market and bring the art to market, but there's a fair bit of complexity around workflows for payouts of commissions, royalties, and then 2 tokens has its own challenges. So happy to speak to anyone if they have questions about that, how we built some of that.
Question on Oracle. How do you get your price information?
Yeah, for we're storing it at the moment. All of our data for history is we're actually talking to the guys at Graphel at the moment about utilizing their service. So we'll probably, the only other price information that's coming through is just a flow to USD currency conversion, and at some point we'll obviously have our Genie token to whatever the equivalent BNB, or we'll have to do a 2-hop conversion from Genie to BNB. Will be priced publicly, and then BNB to USD, so that the end user sees that. But we're not using an Oracle service particularly for anything at this point.
Can I also have a question?
Yeah, go for
Yeah,
it.
go ahead.
I was wondering, what are the incentives of having Genie tokens? Can I use them to buy different cards? Can I use them to, I don't know, yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good question, because we're seeing folks launch tokens, and I'll just bring this up. We thought long and hard about the use cases, and I'll just pull them up there again. But we actually want people to be able to transact in our token. That's one, but of course they can transact in others. So that's not necessarily the sort of distinguishing feature. The distinguishing feature is once you hold a certain number of tokens, and we're going to have sort of what we call platform NFTs that sort of, that allow you to sort of, show that you're participating in the community. It's that combination of holding those tokens and platform NFTs that then grant you access to the whitelist, right? So if we have a drop that's oversubscribed, or we think it's going to be in demand, we'll put them on. So you'll see that little table at the bottom. There is actually a probability table, and those roles that are listed down the left would be if, so you'll see that if you hold 25 of our platform NFTs or equivalent tokens, you would get a much higher chance of, 4 of our platform NFTs and 100,000 Genie tokens, you have a guaranteed allocation of that drop. So it's this allocation and whitelisting is the main benefit, I think, for if you're actually utilizing the platform. And then obviously there'll be staking rewards if you stake either LP or direct.
Got it. Thank you.
I have one question. Can you speak towards the royalties, and do you have did you write that in a smart contract, like sort of a set of artists that you can pay royalties to, or do you have like a more flexible solution there? I'm curious how you approach that.
Yeah, it's a good question. So it's a combination of both on contract and some of it's sort of logic stored in the back end. So every time we come in, so what's somewhat unique about our marketplace at the moment is that we'll be the only primary minters, right? So even if we work with an external collaborating artist or a brand or a sports, like we will be the only ones actually minting. And the reason we did that was, we may open that up at a later point, but we wanted to be, what I really don't like about the more general purpose marketplaces like OpenSea and not, I mean, they have their place, they do a great job, but we're not trying to be an OpenSea. We're not trying to be those platforms. So we wanted to have control over the curation of, at least on the primary sale. What that means is that from the platform's perspective, it needs to distinguish between, okay, everyone, it looks like everyone is the seller, is one seller. But what we need to do is to say, okay, once that item is sold, not only do you need to take maybe a platform fee, 3% if it's paid in flow, but you also need to be able to then pay out different royalties structures. And we actually, of course, when it's royalties, they need to live with the NFT beyond our marketplace. So if someone goes and sells this on Vive, it needs to be recordable that on the smart contract that there's 2 wallet addresses getting, X getting, let's say there's a 10% standard commission, right, on secondary sale creator commissions, typically in the industry. Well, what perhaps if we'd worked with a collaborating artist, the agreement with them might be that, there's a 10% to them, or might be 5-5, depending on the split. And so that flexibility, that we actually built it in, that we have it in our back end, that some of the commissions and creator royalties can be set at the time of minting, and they live on the smart contract so that it's transferable across the entire flow ecosystem.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
All right. Any other questions for Gene and his team?
I'm happy to just jump in with one Geniace question. Then you mentioned you're not using Graphel yet, but you demoed like the market, like what you call the e-commerce view, like where you could filter and search and stuff. So you're not building that with Graphel at the minute, right? You're building
No,
it with
not at
like
the moment.
blockchain stuff. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, literally, we only found out about Graphel probably about 2 weeks ago. Otherwise, we would have loved to have used them at the gate, because they're solving a bunch of things which we've had to solve like ourselves. But yeah, I think we'll definitely kind of use their service when we go into our sort of next release.
Yeah, makes sense.
We have a quiet bunch here.
Hey
Anything
everybody,
else here?
this is
Hey.
Casey. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Brand new to blockchain and flow for sure, so definitely a newbie here. Had a question for sorry, is it Denny or Dean? I didn't catch the pronunciation.
Oh, it's Dean. Thanks
Dean.
for checking.
Yeah, Dean. Actually, your presentation was really good and very relevant in my learning path right now. So I'm just very curious about, you mentioned about developing the native token that you can use in your marketplace. And I'm curious, some of the decisions behind creating your own token versus using something like FUSD or Flow, kind of what went into those decisions, and what have you learned in kind of creating your own token?
Yeah, that's a really that's a bit of a rabbit hole, but I'll try and keep it brief. I mean, honestly, I'll be really, really, really frank about this. I'd known, from a technical perspective, I had no desire to create our own token. We started down the path of exploring. We'd made the commitment to Flow and the Flow blockchain because we loved everything about the ecosystem, the company, a whole bunch of, kind of, I'm sure why you're here in the first place. But it was only after that we decided, well, actually, why don't we use this opportunity to also do a fundraise, and the fundraise was going to be done as a IDO, right? Then you get into the weeds of realizing that, okay, so now, doing a token on Flow is, with all due respect to Flow, like there's just some the gaps in the kind of the ecosystem with launchpads, and I know the guys at Flow are working really hard to sort of bridge that, and people like Blockto are helping, and so they'll get there eventually. But in terms of doing a native token for the purpose of a fundraise, it's really, really early. There's not the launchpad infrastructure. There's not the precedent. Frankly, I think apart from Blockto, no one I know has done a native token, and I think Starly will be the second ones that do. We'll probably be in that sort of second cohort after that. But the upside of it was it's always cool to do something that no one else has done before. And as you saw in my presentation, it does come with the other benefits as we sort of explored it is, well, you can actually build community functionality and use cases around it, right? So things like the whitelisting, so your most avid collectors and users get access to, your drops first. You can do things like, rewarding people who hold the token and with staking. And so then you've got the DAO discussion around like giving people a vote on what happens with the platform and the art that so we started off very much from a financial perspective. We wanted to do it from a financial perspective, but if it was purely a financial decision, probably other blockchains would have been easier to launch a token on. However, we still stayed committed to Flow because of the ecosystem and the company and the brand and everything that we love about it. But certainly, functionally, technically, it's not hard to do a fungible token on Flow, but it's the sale process, the financial process of it that is still quite nascent. That's the only thing I would say.
Great, thanks so much. That's great.
Yeah, just to add to that, we there's like it's a hard place, right? So the this community in the Flow ecosystem is will end up being a lot better if it is not Dapper necessarily building those things, right? So like it can't all be us building these things, because then it just like we don't look at Flow as being like Dapper's blockchain. We think of Flow as being everybody's blockchain, and we're working very actively to open all that up. So like anything, any of those things that are like critical infrastructure that are sort of built on top of the chain, that are made and owned by Dapper and produced by Dapper and things like that are there's long-term downsides to the chain for that. There's long-term downsides to the sustainability of the chain. There's very little good other than we end up with a bunch of things right now that might help us right now but may hurt us in the long run, for the long-term viability of the chain. So that being said, what we do have are resources and expertise. So if somebody in the community has an idea like that, it could be about a launch pad for fungible tokens, it could be some sort of thing inside of the community, a piece of tooling, anything that could have a very positive long-term impact on the chain, reach out to us. We have all sorts of support and things that we can help with in terms of those sorts of things. So we may not have that launch pad now, but it could also be, if you think that you want to take on that, know that you don't necessarily have to do that alone. We can help you, and maybe that's I don't know to what extent or things like that, but at least if you're interested in doing things like that, just reach out to somebody on the team, they'll get you in touch with the right people internally. And I don't know how much help or whatever, but you don't necessarily have to do it alone. Yeah. But yeah, it's definitely lacking right now. So thanks for pushing through, Dean. And yeah, thanks so
No,
much.
I would say that it's not a criticism. I mean, certainly from Matt in your team has been super helpful in guiding us, and there are people starting to fill those gaps, right? So even Blockto, I don't think Blockto set out to be launching a IDO platform, but they'll probably have one by first quarter of next year, right? And then it's a case of like getting enough projects on it, and so that the liquidity is there, and people have gone down that track. But there's certainly willingness from within the Dapper team, from what I've seen, and also from the partners. Like, I completely agree with you. Not necessarily that we're expecting Dapper to build this. It's just that the ecosystem from this particular part of it, this angle on it, is going to need to mature over the next sort of 12 months.
Oh yeah, I didn't take that as in that way at all. I think it's really important to be honest with those things. It's lacking. It's still new. Everything here is still in the infancy. And the things that make this community great and the stuff that gives it so much promise is the people that are here right now, right? The people that are here at this beginning at portion of it, pushing through all these blockers that are sometimes really hard to get through. And the I'm always in awe and in amazement of the ingenuity of a lot of the people in this community and what they're producing and coming up with. In some cases with like very little to work with, and so yeah, it only gets better because of people like you and your team, and the Blockto has been a great ally in this journey too. Yeah.